I'm Kenneth O'Neal, and this is my story. I was in a family of 6. I was the oldest, born in Warner Robins, Georgia, on the Air Force Base. At that particular time, my father was in the United States Marine Corps. My sister, next to me, was 18 months younger, and about the age of 18 months, she contracted infantile paralysis. My mother had to spend all of her time 24/7 working with her, and she passed away at age 12. We moved to Florida. I graduated from high school there. We were kind of a lower middle income family. My dad never had a problem of getting a job. He learned mechanics when he was in the Marine Corps. He used to tell me, Kenneth, you're going to regret one day you know nothing about vehicles. And I used to tell him, Dad, I want to go play baseball. I want to go play baseball. During the first 12 years of living in Georgia for me, we moved 13 times. I became a very gregarious person because every year it seemed like I was making new friends all the time. And I think that my persuasion skills maybe got started at that time. Well, in the early years, as I stated, my mom spent most of her time dealing with my sister. And because of my sister, my other siblings came along later in life. At age 18, I was working a full-time job, going to school full-time. I didn't really have a lot of mentorship. My dad, he would very seldom have conversations with me. That led to an early marriage. I had no experience. I didn't have a good model. My mother was so busy all the time. My dad worked real hard, but I don't really remember a lot of great togetherness within the family. When we had the Vietnam conflict, I actually ended up getting a pretty early draft notice and decided I would join the United States Air Force. I took the exam and everything, and they took us out, put us on an airplane, ended up in San Antonio, Texas. Everybody was kind of thinking, if you're in the military, you're going to end up in Vietnam. They had cut the boot camp down to about 8 weeks. The guy told me when I joined up, he said, well, since you played basketball and baseball and football and ran track in high school, you won't have any problem with us. And he was right. I was sitting in the orderly room one day. This tech sergeant, big guy, came in. He said, does anybody here know how to type? Well, you know, I had finished 1 year of college and had completed lots of English papers. I can type. He said, here, I want you to fill out these forms, and these are orders for people to go once we graduate. So I typed them all up, and he said, while you're there, why don't you type your own orders? And I said, where am I going? He said, you're going to Langley Air Force Base, the home of the CIA. I said, oh, okay, I like that. So I typed the orders, and then I went and reported in Virginia to Langley. When I checked in at the gate, he said, O'Neal, you're not even supposed to be here for another 90 days. I said, no, it says on there I can report right now. And he says, well, I don't know what to do with you. I want you to go to the base commander. I said, the base commander? He said, yeah. He said, there's nobody in the unit that you've been assigned to, nobody. I said, okay. So I went to the base commander and he said, what are you doing here? Told him the same story. And he said, get all the manuals and everything and set up the procedures of how to run a squadron in the United States Air Force. So I was going through all the books and everything, and I came to a section on education. And I said, wow, that sounds like me. So I started reading it, and it said, if you have more than 2 years left on your active duty, you can apply for temporary duty to go to school. I said, that's me. So I filled it out, made a copy of it, took it to the base commander. He stamped it. He said, I'm glad to get you off of this base. So I went to school at William and Mary for the whole summer. When I completed that summer session, I went back to the base, and there were people everywhere, just everywhere, but they were using my library. They had all my stuff there. And for 3 years, I had 3 squadrons of C-130 aircraft, and we sent people TDY all over the world out of Virginia. And then one day they walked in, they said, we're sorry, we thought you would stay here for your full 4 years, but these are orders for you to go to Vietnam. I was in charge of the communications, finished my year. Well, I also applied for officer candidate school, and they gave me orders. You've been assigned to the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma for officer training. And I said, I don't want those orders. They said, yeah, but you applied for them, so that's why we're giving them to you. I said, no, I want to go home. I got released and went back and went to school at the University of South Florida, got a degree in accounting, graduated, and went to work for Deloitte Touche in Atlanta, Georgia. I was with them for about 10 years, though, and then I started my own firm. We had about 14 to 15 CPAs. I ended up selling off that accounting practice in 1995 and started a consulting firm and my coaching business at that time. Pivotal, that's a good word, but I call them the dastardly Ds, ABCD, dastardly Ds. And those are death, disease, disillusion, disruption, and the big D, divorce. September, October of 2015, my wife of 25 years said that she didn't want to be married anymore. It devastated me because I had no idea. I fault myself for that because I should have noticed certain things, but I didn't. I had this coaching and consulting business, and I gave a speech to a group of healthcare providers. Anyway, there was a guy in there that came. He said, hey, I loved the speech. It was great. Can you give that speech to a 300-bed hospital? I said, sure, I'd love to. Here's my card. Call me. I said, where is this hospital? He said, it's in Rwanda. We were scheduled for 10 days. I started working with these people. I took my accounting background and I sat down with the caregivers for these little kids. And we wrote business plans on how to create income for those people. The 10 days went into almost 40 days, so I was there for quite some time. And I'm still today supporting the people, supporting different organizations. I have a sign on a couple of my accounts that says, the hills of Rwanda are calling me. If I could go back, I think that the biggest thing that I would tell myself is that I need to be intentional about commitments. The big word here is to create a legacy. A legacy is something that 150 years from now, people are going to be saying about me. And legacy is where you leave the memories, you leave the thought of you in the hearts of other people. And the legacy itself should be built on integrity, which means effective communication where people are loved, they're trusted, they're respected. And we can have great relationships if we will just speak to one another with kindness in the way that they want to be treated. God has given me the ability to be able to meet people. I've never met a stranger, and I am fearless about sharing all of the information, everything that I have. And I call it the sin of the desert. If you know where the water is in the desert and you do not tell the other travelers, you're sinning. And I don't want to be that way. You can have everything you want out of life by just helping enough other people and serving them to get what they want. you will get what you want.